to try a fun exercise today on Bloom called Take Out the Trash. Not literally, but it's something that you can do to have a better relationship. Joining us now is author and podcaster Matthew Hoffman, who is the author of The Kickass Husband. Welcome back to Bloom, Matt.
So great to be back with you, Gayle. Thanks for having me.
This is great. So tell us a little bit about what exactly is Take Out the Trash.
Well, let me clear that it has nothing to do with the domestic duty of taking out the trash. I don't want people, it's actually styled after a chapter that's right out of the book, and it's an exercise that you can do to have deeper, better communication with your partner.
All right, that's great. Now, we do have a viewer question. I want you to take a listen, and maybe this applies to her when it comes to taking out the trash, or it might be something fun for her to do. So let's take a listen.
Sure.
Hi, my name's Holly. I've been married about 6 months. It's not my first marriage. And my question is, what is the best way to communicate with my husband when I have a different opinion than he does on something?
Is that just a good question for you to answer, or can you take out the trash?
Well, it's a great question. So the whole exercise of taking out the trash is something to bring you together, to increase communication and understanding, especially when there's a difference of opinion in a relationship. It means you're kind of coming from different places. So the exercise, if you remember MASG, okay? So in taking out the trash, you're going to sit knee to knee with your spouse, hold hands, be close in eye contact, and the M is, what are you mad about? So you're sharing with them what you're mad about.
Okay.
The A is what you're afraid about, okay? The S is you're trying to figure out if there's something that you're sad about and communicating that. And the G, ending on a positive note, what are you glad about? So you're taking 4 different emotions, MASG, and sharing with your spouse who's just listening to how you're feeling. And then you're taking turns and flipping it around and having them do it for you. And you can't ask questions, you can't challenge, you just have to listen. And so you're getting an insight into their inner world and what they're experiencing, or the emotions that might be driving them in a disagreement or an argument. So if Holly was to do that exercise and take out the trash, it will give her context and understand where her husband's coming from, and then she would be able to give the same to him, and they'd be in a much better framework to come at something that they might have a difference of opinion on.
That's a really good idea, because I mean, my husband and I, we quarrel like all couples do, but we never have really major blowouts. And we had one not that long ago, and it was really because each of us were coming from 2 very, very different places of where our thought process was. And had I known about this exercise, and if I had known where he was coming from, and he would known where I was coming from, it would have brought us back the fight probably would not have even happened, because we were on opposite ends of this. I was like, wow, that's really what I didn't even know where you were coming from. So that simple communication can make all the difference in the world.
It really does. Context is important, because we're not in their skin and we don't know. And Gayle, especially, you're in a household, both you and your husband work, and you guys are going different directions.
Yeah.
So if you haven't had an opportunity to anchor with each other and figure out what's going on, that exercise gives you 4 emotions that they're experiencing and allows you to understand where their context is, and it also brings you closer together and more intimate. And when you're intimate and closer, it's easier to come from a place of love instead of accusation and division.
So in the case of our viewer question today, she ended it by saying, how do we communicate when we necessarily don't we don't agree on something, like we're on opposite ends? So once you gather this information, and you're saying you sit down, knee to knee, you said hold hands?
Yep, contact is best if you can.
Look each other directly in the eye and start that conversation. Does that also help as far as seeing, like, when you have opposite opinions?
It does, because you're physically connecting, you're being calm, you're respectful and listening, and you're investing in the other person. So if there's a difference, that's okay, because 2/3 of all issues in relationships are not solvable. And if you can't solve it, what do? You got to get understanding. And it's okay to disagree, but if you don't understand their opinion, where they're coming from, and you don't value their opinion as greatly as you value your own, it's going to be really difficult to find that middle ground or third alternative.
So you're saying this is an exercise that can teach you how to agree to disagree instead of locking horns over what you disagree about.
Absolutely, and it helps ground you back to each other in what you love and respect about one another, and it gives you a peek to where they're coming from. Like, hey, take out the trash. I'm not angry you didn't take out the trash. I'm angry because you're not listening to me when I ask you to do something, so you must not value my opinion. You don't value my opinion, my imagination goes wild about what you're thinking and what your motives are in this thing that we seem to be having a disagreement right now, which may not even be about what I think it is.
I love it. So it's MASG.
Right.
Got it. Thank you, Matt. That was awesome. And if you want more information, you can visit MatthewPHoffman.com, and don't forget to look for his podcast, Kickass Couples Nation.
Kickass Couples Podcast.
Kickass Couples Podcast.
That's right.
All right. We're going to be back with more Bloom right after this. Stick around. Where'd I get this?